for birdie. How beautiful is that? Unbelievable performance.
Hey, Michael Brennan is the champion at the 2026 Wyndham Championship. Congratulations to him on a great win. We need to dive into his bag, see what he's playing, what clubs did he have for that victory there. He's been playing some good golf over the past couple weeks and a really, really talented player. We're going to jump in his bag. Now, he is a Titleist staffer, so everything in here is going to be Titleist, but he's got some interesting pieces that we're going to take a look at. But we're going to start at driver, and driver is actually something a little bit older. He's playing the Titleist GT3. So yes, the previous gen driver, the GT3. Now, this was the lower launching, lower spinning driver in the GT lineup. A little bit flatter ball flight, a lot of adjustability. But for the player who is looking to kind of control some spin, control some launch, the GT3 was typically the better fit than the GT2. Now, this is a 9-degree head. I know our photo showed an 8-degree head, and these photos actually were from the Wyndham Championship. So not sure if he had two different drivers in the bag, and then he just took the 9-degree and played that one, or if he played this 8-degree head, and we got some different information there. But anyway, he's playing a 9-degree head. And this one here, the hosel on it is set to C3. So the C3 setting on the SureFit hosel, which means it's up 0.75 degrees of loft and 0.75 degrees of lie. So a little bit more upright, a little bit more loft on it, just adding some launch, adding a little bit of spin, and then upright can kind of change the starting line of the ball. The more upright you go, typically it'll move that start line over to the left a little bit. So on the sole also, there's a movable weight, and that SureFit weight there is the H1 setting, which is the heel 1 setting. So there's a heel 2, heel 1. There's 5 total positions on that driver. His is in the heel, again, just for a little bit of weighting. Could be a feel thing, could help turn the ball over a little bit faster, whatever he needs to get that feel just right to hit those shots consistently. And the weight in that front portion there looks to be the blue 12 gram weight that Titleist offers in that GT3 line. Now, the shaft on this one is a Project X HZRDUS Smoke Blue RDX. This is a 70TX, and the Smoke Blue is kind of an interesting shaft because you didn't see it an absolute ton out there. It's a mid-low launch shaft, and it's low spin, but it actually is a counterbalance shaft. So much like Project X has typically been yellow with their counterbalance products, they had this blue up model that came out with the RDX shaft line. And the RDX shaft line had this hex toe or hex toe material to help kind of reinforce it, make it more stable. And this was the counterbalance version. So why they went to blue on this instead of yellow, not really sure from the marketing standpoint. This is the cool ion blue finish, which was part of the kind of the small batch, had its own special logo. They usually did some special paint colors and stuff like that. The PVD blue is pretty darn awesome. It looks really, really good in person. But counterbalance meaning that the handle section of the shaft weighs a little bit more than the tip. And some people do that because maybe they want to play the driver a little bit longer without the swing weight getting out of control. Maybe they want to play a little bit heavier head for a certain feel or performance aspect, or some players just want a slightly lighter head feel. So instead of taking weight out of the head or anything like that, they can play a counterbalance shaft, and it helps them maybe feel like they can square it up a little bit better or swing it a little bit faster. Now this one had a little softer midsection for some added ball speed, came in at 75 grams and 2.9 degrees of torque. Then we move into his 3-wood, and his 3-wood is definitely interesting because it is a Titleist GTS, but it's a prototype. It just says 3-wood on it. There's no markings. It doesn't say 1, 2, 3, or 4. It is basically just a GTS prototype. And the big difference is on the sole, you can see there's a single weight up near the face. The GTS2, GTS3 have toe and heel weights. This one does not. It's just a single weight up front. I've heard some rumors online that people say this could be a GT1 3-tour replacement, but that has not been confirmed or anything. It's hard to tell if it is bigger or anything like that than, say, the GTS2 or GTS3 models, but definitely a little bit different design in terms of the weighting on it. That forward weight there probably does reduce some spin on it, makes it maybe launch a little bit flatter, but it has kind of a traditional shape. Again, doesn't have anything but 3W on there. So yeah, could be something new coming down the line. Could be a tour-only prototype that we never see. Not really sure on it. It is a 15-degree head, and the SureFit hosel setting on this one is D1, which is minus 0.75 degrees of loft. So probably playing a little bit more like 14.25 grams. Single forward weight is 11 grams. So again, something interesting there, and it is in the center, so I wonder if the CG is just slightly different than, say, GTS2 or GTS3, as those both have forward weights, but out in the toe and the heel. So definitely an interesting one there. It'll be interesting to see if we get it. I know that when the GT1 3 Tour came out, we actually saw some prototypes out on tour. Didn't know what it was. It ended up being the GT1 3 Tour, but nobody knows yet if that is the case. So Interesting 3-wood there. Now the shaft on this one is a Project X Titan yellow 80TX. Now the Titan is kind of the new version of the HZRDUS a little bit. Definitely a lower launch, low spin shaft. Again, counterbalanced. The yellow designation typically marks Project X shafts as counterbalanced. So again, it's going to have a heavier handle section compared to the tip if you were to put it on a scale, making that head a little bit lighter, maybe giving you the ability to add some more weight up there, or maybe add some hot melt in the spot without, again, that swing weight getting too out of control. It's a little bit softer in the handle of Titan, a little bit stiffer in the tip, so kind of control that launch, control that spin, had some tightness to the shaft, make it really consistent, really accurate, while still maintaining a good soft feel to it. Comes in at 81 grams and 2.6 degrees of torque. Then the next club in his bag is a 7-wood, and this is the Titleist GTS3 3-wood, so 21 degrees. They don't necessarily stamp 7-wood on it. It just says 21 degrees, but that is typically a 7-wood loft there. Now the SureFit hosel on this one is set to D4, which adds 0.75 degrees of loft, standard lie angle on that. And the GTS3 is the slightly more compact head, a little bit deeper face on it, and typically it's geared towards players who maybe have a little steeper angle of attack. They hit down on the ball, maybe they can make contact a little bit higher on the face, so they've deepened that a little bit, but it's still made for higher launch and lower spin. So great head there. On this one here, 11 gram weight in the toe, 7 gram weight in the heel, so maybe set up a little bit more neutral to maybe slightly fade bias, or just moving that CG out away from the shaft, so as it rotates through the swing, has just a slightly different feel to it. Now the shaft on this one is a matching Project X Titan, Titan yellow 80TX, just like it is in the 3-wood. So again, low launch, lower spin, counterbalance profile. Now these shafts do have Project X new Synex, which is a technology which is basically a multi-axle carbon fiber layup that's kind of, I think, in some of the outer layers that help with consistency, help with the shaft not ovaling as it flexes, keeps the hoop strength, makes it more consistent, a little bit more stable. And again, this one here is a little softer in the handle, stiff tip on it, 81 grams and 2.6 degrees of torque. Then we move into his irons, and he's playing a little bit of a combo set there. So the first irons in his bag are going to be the 4 and 5 iron, and those are going to be the Titleist T100. So this is kind of the multi-piece player's iron, and by that meaning it's a forged club head, and on the back, under that little muscle on the backside, that little bulge in the back, there's 2 tungsten weights inside there. So 2 tungsten weights out in the toe and the heel. They add some stability, move the CG placement, make it actually a much more forgiving head than you would expect from its size, but very little offset to it, thin top line, good blade length. It's just a great player's iron. There's a lot of players on tour who play full sets of these, but they do launch a little bit higher than, say, the 620 CBs that he's playing in the rest of the bag. But if he's looking for a little bit more height and a little bit maybe more stability, more forgiveness from his long irons, the T100 is a great option there. So good option at the 4 and 5 iron. And then 6 through 9 iron, the rest of his set is the Titleist 620 CB. This is a forged cavity bag, been in the lineup for a long time. And I remember, I think it was maybe last year, had a bunch of wins out on tour. And people kept asking, is there a new one coming? Are we going to see a brand new and updated version? Then it won a bunch on tour. And people were like, well, I guess not. It's playing pretty well there. But Titleist still does make a full CB. This one is it, and it's a single piece forged CB. So there is no like face with a welded on back or anything like that. It is basically just a traditional player's cavity, a little bit more compact than the T100, thin top line, very little offset, great solid feel to it. And compared to some other CBs out there, I feel like it's got a slightly shorter blade length. Now the blade lengths on the set are progressive, meaning they'll get a little bit longer in the long irons, a little bit shorter in the short irons. But overall, I think it looks a little bit shorter heel to toe than some other players' CBs out there in the world. So great one there. Again, been in the lineup for a long time. I don't think it's going anywhere with yet another win. And the shafts on all of these irons here are Project X 6.5s, or some people now call it the Project X Blue or the original Project X. But this is the one that is definitely a stiff, stout profile. They label it on the website as low launch, low spin. I always say this when we talk about this shaft. I think it offers initially a little bit higher launch than that, but a very flat apex, but very tight, very low spin, stiff, stable shaft. A lot of like faster players love the feel of this because it just feels tight throughout the swing. So great shaft there. In the 6.5 version, come in at 125 grams. Then we move to his wedges, and he is playing a full lineup of SM11, so the brand new Titleist Vokey SM11s. The first one in his bag is his pitching wedge replacement. That's a 46.10 F grind. That one there is very popular. We see it almost every week out there. A lot of these players out on tour play a sand wedge style wedge for their pitching wedge. And the reason they may do that is a flight thing. CG is different on that iron compared to the matching set in the 620 CBs. So maybe it's something where it comes out a little bit flatter, got a little bit more control, or we could work the ball a little bit lower, hit some different shots with that pitching wedge to get to some tight pins or something like that. Also could be a spin difference, different grooves in that wedge compared to the 620 CB. So maybe it's something where he's got a little bit added spin for the shots he needs to hit, and that control going in for those tighter shots and those more precision shots there. And this one, like I said, is kind of all over. Now the shaft on this one is a matching setup to his irons, which is the Project X 6.5. Then moving to his gap wedge. His gap wedge, he's playing the 50.12F, which is the higher bounce version of the 50. The F grind is the only available option, unfortunately, in the 50, but they make two versions, an 08 and a 12. The 12 just having a little bit more bounce. So players who are a little bit steeper, maybe playing slightly softer conditions, the 12-degree bounce could just offer a little bit better turf interaction. But overall, fuller sole, a little bit of camber to it, gets through well, doesn't dig as much, but still releases from the turf pretty well and gets through fairly quickly. The next wedge in his bag would then be his sand wedge, which is a 54.10 S grind. And I feel like the S grind kind of gets left behind a little bit. People always kind of like all the wilder, different grinds. But the S grind is really, really solid. A little bit of that fuller sole, but they do kind of grind off that back trailing edge. And that's basically going to allow it to be a little bit more versatile for players who want to open the face, keeps the leading edge down just a touch, while also helping it release from the turf on fuller shots. So it gets through a little bit faster, a little bit smoother, while also allowing you to play some different shots around the green. But it still has a good amount of sole to play out of the trap or, reduce digging on fuller shots. Now this one, he does bend weak. He does bend it to 55, and that does add a degree of bounce as well. So kind of playing like a 55.11 S grind there. Then we move on to his lob wedge, and his lob wedge is an SM11 60.08 M grind. The M grind, I feel like we've seen a little resurgence of the M grind. M grind kind of went away. We kind of saw a lot of T grinds and in other grinds out there, seen a few M grinds coming back. Now, Brennan does carry a T grind as well in his bag, but playing the M grind this week at the Wyndham, which is a little bit more bounce. So maybe it's something with the conditions there or the type of shots he was going to hit around the green, but playing the M grind. And the M grind is kind of a more versatile grind. It's got a good amount of bounce, but they do shave off or grind off a lot of the heel, toe, and trailing edge, allowing you to kind of open that face up, play some higher lofted shots. It keeps that leading edge down, so that way it's easy to kind of get under it, especially on tighter lies. But it's just super versatile wedge grind, allowing you to kind of play a lot of different shots. And if you're a player who likes to open the face and kind of hit some higher lofted ones, this one can be a really, really good one. Now, compared to the T grind, the bounce on this one is shifted back a little bit in the head. So compared to T and M, they are going to feel a little bit different through the turf. And depending on how you use the wedge and how you release and get it into the ground, one may feel better or worse for you, or one may be a little bit more versatile. But again, he carries both the T and an M, but this week playing the 60.08 M grind. Now the 50, 54, and 60 all have True Temper Dynamic Gold Tour Shoe S400 wedge shafts in there. And again, every week we talk about the S400, and the S400 is a gray wedge shaft, a little bit softer than especially the Project X 6.5. Definitely a little bit different profile as well. A little bit softer in the handle, stiff tip, offers kind of that mid-low launch, mid-low spin, good feel to it. Comes in about 132 grams, so just a little bit heavier than the iron shafts. But one of those ones that's been around forever, and every week it seems like we're talking about S400s and at least one wedge in a bag. Then we move on to putter, and this putter is a Scotty Cameron Golo 6 Tour Prototype. On the bottom you can see on the sole it says TG6, but this is kind of based off the Super Select Golo 6 that was out, I think in 2024 when those came out. But it's this rounded kind of mid-mallet look that they don't offer currently in the current lineup. From what I've heard from Titleist, they don't sell a ton at retail, but on a tour, the Golo 6 is extremely popular. That shape, a lot of players gravitate towards it, a lot of players like it, but at retail, it just isn't popular at the moment. So interesting there, but single bend shaft, so it's got a little bit of toe hang, but not a ton. Not quite a face balance putter there. It does give it a full shaft offset for that look. Deep milled face, so it should feel and sound really soft on there. When you look at that face, there's a good amount of deep milling, and what that does is just you have less metal contacting the ball, so it's going to give it that softer feel and a little bit more muted sound. Both on the sole here, 10-gram weights on the sole, and the whole head, for the most part, is built out of Scotty's SSS, which is surgical stainless steel, which some people will claim is a thing, other people won't, but it is built from stainless steel, and there is a aluminum sole plate on the bottom as well. That aluminum sole plate allows them to move more mass out to the perimeter, make it a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more stable head on mishits, while still retaining the shape and sound and feel that they want out of that head. And then this one, just a single sightline on the flange. There is the ability to make kind of like a T sightline. If you look on the back of that flange, the roundness, there's a little spot that some people will paint fill it, some people won't. For Michael, he just basically has a single black line on the back. So long, straight sightline on the flange. And a great looking putter there. So the grip on this one is a SuperStroke Zenergy 2.0 PT. This is kind of a grip that for a little bit was just tour only. You can buy it on their website now. It's available, but a little bit more of a traditional shape pistol grip. Has a little bit of taper to it, which is usually SuperStroke's big thing, but it's still got a little bit more arc in the upper hand as well. So something a little bit larger, but still a traditional shape to it to kind of maybe quiet the hands, but still feel normal, especially with that arc in the upper hand. Now, the rest of the grips on his clubs are the Golf Pride Z Grip cords. This is probably one of the firmest grips that Golf Pride makes, probably the firmest that Golf Pride makes. Really firm rubber. It's going to give great twist control as well as great responsiveness to the clubs. You're going to feel a little bit more vibration through the shot, so knowing whether you struck it flush or hit it a little thin or whatever, those shots, it's going to give a lot of feedback to the player. Then it also has a heavy cord run through it. So it's kind of like a cotton yarn-like material, a cord that runs through. And between the firm rubber and that cord, you're going to get really great traction and really great stability in the hand. So again, for faster swingers, they like that feel of a grip that's not moving or isn't squishy or anything like that. The Z grip's a great option. And then that cord also makes it all weather really, really great. You can go out there if it's raining or in hot, humid conditions, you're still going to get great traction out of that grip. And finally, for ball, he is playing the Titleist Pro V1. So the Pro V1 offers a slightly more penetrating ball flight, a little lower long game spin compared to the Pro V1X, but it also has a softer feel. And Michael plays his ball. Titleist basically said he plays it because he likes to have control spin. For him, it's more taking spin off. He can get spin getting a little too high on his shots. So something there, a little bit lower spinning, he can control it and then add spin or take it off as he needs. But he also likes the sound and feel of it. The X is a little bit firmer. He likes that softer feel with the wedges and putter and all that. So that is Michael Brennan's winning what's in the bag for the 2026 Wyndham Championship. Congratulations to him on a great win. And yeah, we're getting to the end of the year here. We're getting into the FedEx Cup playoffs, so going to be an interesting one. But check back next week. We'll jump into the next winners what's in the bag. And please like, subscribe, hit the notification button, all that, and we'll see you next week.